What's up, Juventini? Welcome back to the AJC, your channel dedicated to Juventus. And we've got a bunch to talk about in the news. We've got a done deal, and we've got Comolli looking to make a huge statement. Can we actually land Osimhen? We'll look at that. What the heck is going on with Dusan Vlahovic? Meanwhile, we also have to look at the backline. All of a sudden not looking like it should be as high a priority. We've got a lot to discuss. The Mercado madness is well underway. Lou knows it, and he's feeling it. All right, but we love it. All right, we've got Mas, we got Lou, we got Omer ready to tackle all this. Gentlemen, how are you doing today? Mas, how's it going, brother?
Listen, we got a new signing. We got the striker everybody wanted, or at least one of the strikers everybody wanted. So that's great. My favorite band, Oasis, reunited yesterday for the first time in like almost 20 years, which is
yes, Mass.
fantastic. It's been a great couple of days, to be honest. Everything's
Things are
going
on the up. Things are on the up. Lou,
on the up and up.
4th of July on a Friday, and you're here with us?
Yeah, can you see my eyes? Can you see my soul? Yeah, happy 4th of July to all the Americans out there. I hope you celebrated as well as I did last night. Maybe better.
Well, it's great to have you on. And Omer, guns out, buddy. Guns blazing. Love to see it. How you doing, brother?
Yeah, like 40 degrees, so no other options. I can't do this topless, but I'm phenomenal. Everything is great. Hi, everyone in the chat. Happy 4th of July. And yeah, let's rock it. Lots to talk about.
There we go. There we go. We will take a second. Say what's up to everybody in the chat here. We got Giuseppe Cataldo. Good morning. Morning. Yorio. Let's go. We got RB Comps. Ciao, ciao. R1 Forza Juve. Ciao, everyone from the beach. Oh, yeah. I'd love to do a live show from the beach. Right at a nice little bar there. Have a couple cervezas. There we go. Ciao, guys. Cugino Eddie. Magical Realism. Ciao, ragazzi. We are ready to rock. Forza Juve, Eric, ciao, AJC. Great to see you all in here. We've got a ton to discuss. We're going to start off with the signing. The Iceman, Jonathan David, landed by Juventus. We've got the terms at $6.5 million salary. You've got bonus from $1.5 to $2 million. The agent fees, $12.5 million, payable over 3 years. Those funds don't hit the books. It's all good. It's all good. Except some people were taking exception, and the Canadian got a little bit of flack because he was kind of going against what we're all known for as being happy Canadians, you know, and no smiles. No smiles. Come on. Iceman. What are you doing? Hit us with a smile, Iceman. Come on.
Sub-Zero.
He's all business.
A bit overwhelmed.
All business. He's all business. That's what it is. All business.
And this sparked, some Juventini had to take some shots. This one was probably my favorite. Throwback to Jonathan David at his birthday party. This kills me. Still kills me. Mick is an absolute beauty. Great account to follow. Yeah. Hilarious. But that's Jonathan David on his birthday. But it's okay. It's okay. As time went on, there you go. There's the big smile for the ones that needed to see it, all right? Hey, he's called the Iceman for a reason, okay? Called the Iceman for a reason, but we loved it. I love this. This is a one hell of a picture, okay? The video they did with him for the whole around the Iceman theme. Loved it. Loved it. Now we got to get to the business around it. Jonathan David's landed. How do you feel about the signing? How do you believe he's going to do at Juventus? We'll start with Omer.
Yeah, so let's talk football. Like, what's he actually like on the pitch, and what do I expect from him, at least from the times I watched him? First of all, he's a very mobile striker. Those guys seems to flourish more a bit in Tudor's system. Very good in passing. He's not the type of guy who runs and dribbles past 3 defenders, but his positioning seems great. His layoffs, his interaction, his passing with his other teammates. It seems like what's missing, what we've been asking for from Vlahovic. Aerially, not so much. We still need to see him in Italy. No, Liga is a completely different league. But I do like that signing. The number, the just it seems to fit me. I don't know. It seems like the right one.
All right, there you go. There's Omer on him. And Lou, your thoughts on the Iceman?
I'm a big fan of Jonathan David. I think he's kind of like a profile that Juventus needs. If you watch Jonathan David last year in Europe, his best games, Real Madrid, Arsenal. There was another giant that he scored goals and won against. He's a giant killer. Juventus lack players like that, players that like can show up in big games, can produce big goals, have a little bit of an edge to them. In terms of tactics, like Omar's set up pretty good. He's not your traditional number 9 like Vlahovic. We needed a system that worked to Vlahovic's skill sets, whereas Jonathan David will adapt to the system that we have in play. It's exciting. It's also exciting it's a free transfer. I know everyone's caught up on the agent fees, but like you said, paid over 3 years. Free transfer allows us to maybe bring back Comolli or go get a bigger target, which we'll probably talk about later. So in that essence, even if 50-50 on the player, we'd still go get another player on top of that. Like, not much to complain about, in my opinion.
Yeah. Mas.
Yeah, I think the guy said it, right? I mean, the guy has been a top 10 striker the last few years in Europe. He's done it in League One. He's done it in Champions League. He burned us when he played us. He gives us a bit of a profile that we've been lacking the last few years at striker. I think with his pace, and he's able to do, because what's been our biggest gripe with this team, right? Lack of service for our strikers means they struggle, right? I think with David, he's able to create a little more, even with lacking that service. And like Lou said, with him coming over on the Bosman, it's basically allowing us to address some of the other needs in the team, right?
Yeah.
If you would have landed a Jokeres or a Shesko or any of the other names, you would have to pay that big transfer fee. So hopefully, this allows us to fill some holes. For sure.
For me, obviously looking at it, I'll give you everything that has nothing to do with the Canadian element, but obviously it's cool to see a Canadian men's national player now joining Juventus. That is cool. That should give kids around here also some kind of hope, and the Juventini that are in Canada some type of hope that they too can make something like that happen. So that's awesome on its own accord. We had that with the female side with Giulia Grosso join the Juventus women, and now Jonathan David is the first male to do so. When you look at him as a player, I put out a YouTube short not long ago before we went live. You guys could check it out, but I explained why I think he will actually do well. And let's just look at the nickname side of things. Iceman, why he's named that. Like, this guy, he left Canada. He was in Ottawa. He was born in Brooklyn. When he was 3 months old, his family moved to Haiti. And then at 6 years old, moved back to North America in Ottawa. That's where he was. That's where football really took off for him. At age 17, he left. He went to Belgium to play professional football at 17. 2 years later, lost his mother. Battled a cancer. Okay, he was 19 years old. Shortly after that, with the men's Canadian national side, that's where John Herdman, the coach at the time, named him the Iceman, because he's unfazed. We saw it yesterday. The guy is always deadpan, and that's what John Herdman said. He goes, he's deadpan. He gives you nothing. Nothing phases him. That's huge. When you look at Juve, the years we've been under here, the turmoil, all this, I want a guy that nothing phases. That he's got that self-belief and everything. And if you look at the words he said in his introduction yesterday, the video, he seems like that guy. He seems like a guy that's confident in what he can do, what he can produce. And I like that. I said Juve needs to sign the right characters. Furthermore, John Herdman continued, besides being deadpan and always locked in, he said, this guy comes from a solid family and you could tell he's got good values. He says he's got humility and talent, the best combination any player can have. Alphonso Davies said the same thing. He goes, great teammate, great player to play with. And he said, off the pitch, you'll get nothing. Guy barely talks. On the pitch, completely different guy. You know where he is at all times, when he wants the ball, and he makes his presence felt. Love it, just from the nickname. That's just showing character. When you talk about production, few have been as consistent as he has over the past 3 seasons. 25 plus goals in each of his 3 past seasons in all competitions, 77 goals in 137 appearances or something. His national team stats are ridiculous for Canada, 11 goals in the last 10 matches or something. This guy is consistent. He's not streaky or anything, and to lose point, spot on. It doesn't matter who you have as a coach. It doesn't matter what system you play, because he could play solely at the top, in tandem, or even as a 10. And he, even just take goals aside, he can set teammates up. This is a solid pickup. And you did it for undervalue, because with the numbers, the play he's been putting out there, if you had to purchase this guy outright, his value would be on today's market somewhere between 45 to 50 million euros. For real.
Yeah. I just want to piggyback off what you, 2 things you said there. First off, character, big thing. Like, Juventus lacks a lot of character, right? It's a thing that we talk about. You look at Vlahovic, right? Like, that's the number 1 complaint about Vlahovic. It's not necessarily the goals, but it's his character. It's the way he behaves on the pitch, the way that he behaves off the pitch. It's a big problem with Juventus. So, like, character signing too. The other thing I was thinking about is, like, all the things that we like about Comolli, all the things that he excels at. Jonathan David almost excels twice as good, right? Like, he could play off the ball. Like, I think him and Yildiz could be a dangerous combination in the way that we like Comolli and Yildiz, right? He could create his own goals. There's just a lot there to like about this signing. And again, if he flops, Juventus just have to sell him to make money, right? You know, it's not the end of the world, right? It's not like we invested 50, 60 million in him. Like, it's a free signing, you know, the agent commissions, whatever, but it's a free signing that you can move later. So if we sign someone bigger and he flops, then we just make peace with it at the end of the summer, right? It's a good deal all around.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, if you're looking at other guys, hey, Osimhen's on a final contract year. You've got Yildiz that has question marks. I mean, is that the right value for him? We didn't overextend at all. And, I mean, we've got to talk about Osimhen, because can Comolli land him too? There's a lot of news coming around Osimhen. But first, we got to have a little fun here, because, old man Skanga had it again. Juve puts out their post on Iceman joining Juventus, and Skanga thought that it had to do with the weather in Canada, and he claims, do they know we do have summers up here? And I'm like, oh my God, man, you are so out of the loop. Anyways, it's his nickname. But where does the Iceman... So then Skanga says, well, I hate it altogether. Where does the Iceman rank in Juve nicknames? Boomer, I love that. Adam Camp, boomer for old man Skanga there. Well, what do we got? We got Pinturicchio, the artist, for Del Piero.
That's a good
Iceman,
one.
I don't know if it's going to overtake the artist. Fellas? I don't know if it's going to take... I don't know. I like the Iceman, though. Do you like the Iceman? You guys like that nickname?
I think we haven't had a player with a good nickname in a while.
Yeah, you had Principino, obviously.
I like
the Prince for Marquisio. You had Il Maestro, obviously.
No, you usually have them with Argentinians. They always have, like, El Fideo, El Burrito, Ortega, the legendary.
Formica Atomica, the atomic ant, Giovinco.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
You had Trezeguet had 3. Everyone knew Ray David, King David, Trezeguet. Not many knew about Cobra. He was called Cobra also.
Never knew that.
The White Feather, Ravanelli.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
The Warrior and La Piranha, Vidal. You had King Kong, Chiellini, El Apache, Tevez. That was a sweet one.
Oh, yeah.
Barzali had The Wall, or La Rocchia.
Mhm.
Good ones too. But I like the Iceman. I think I'm going to
Well,
put it up there.
Was Benucci bastard in Italian or what? What was his like? I mean, if not, we missed the golden opportunity there. I
Oh,
say
you,
all
you
that.
forgot El Pazzo Cavallo.
Oh, Mr. No
Crazy
Good.
Horse. If only it went to a better guy, a
Yeah.
better player.
Wow, Mr. No
Great
Good.
nickname.
Yeah, big fan of that one.
Should have been the stupid donkey instead, but nonetheless, here we go. Nicknames. There you go. Pipita was good too for Higuain. And of course, La Joya there for Dybala. The Jewel.
the Jewel.
Great one there.
Yeah.
Great one there. So now we got the
Indivino
Iceman.
Codino.
And that's probably solid amongst the guys we have here. Yeah.
Listen, it's gonna suck if he doesn't do well. So
Oh yeah, and I take
can
zero
call-
responsibility if he does
can call
not thrive
whatever-
at Juventus, just so everybody knows, okay?
you can call him whatever you want. If he bags 30 goals a year, it's gonna sound
How do you,
fantastic.
how do you
Listen,
say that in Italian? The
if
Iceman.
if he flops, I already have an agreement. Trim has to buy us all beer.
Yeah.
Put me on his
Oh
tab.
yeah, Trim's fighting the fight hard. I like it.
Yeah,
I like
all
it.
in.
La Furia Ceca, Nedved,
That's a
the
good one.
Czech
too.
Fury. That was a
Yeah.
badass one. But right now for nicknames, yeah, Iceman seems to be the best one on the current squad. RoboCop, yeah, he ain't playing like RoboCop, so that one's out the window until he gets it going. Now, Osimhen, a lot of news around Osimhen and Juve still making contacts. Lou, you could probably speak to this. I'm pretty sure it's Fabrizio Romano that claims that the continuous calls from Juve's end. So it sounds like Juve's trying to get an agreement in place with Osimhen and then approach Napoli. But, we got to ask, do we actually, I mean, anything can happen, but do you actually think that we can land Osimhen as well after David comes in here? What are you thinking? We'll start this one with Lou.
Yeah, so like on the deal itself, you're right. Like they're trying to negotiate with the entourage, and then I feel like they're kind of setting up a little bit like they did with Coop Miners last year, where it's like you get the players, yes, he's turned down everyone but Juventus, and then Napoli can only agree with Juventus. That's kind of how you make a deal like that. Probably is going to be one of those ones that's dragged out into August. The nice thing about Osimhen, where I think it's feasible, is he goes for free next summer, so Napoli have to sell. Like they can't extend him one more year and loan him out again. Like that's what they did last year to sell. So there's no suitors but Juventus. They're gonna be put into a corner a little bit. The ADL is a pain in the what, but a lot of pressure this summer to get those funds to make that money on Osimhen. Add players to the Conte squad. Because if you think about it from Napoli's window, with Inter kind of in free fall, they have a window if they make the right signings to, maybe make a run here, like win a couple in a row, something like that with Conte there. So I think there's a lot of pressure on them to sell, which I think benefits Juventus. I think that the deal is feasible. It's just a question of, can you get an agreement with Osimhen? What kind of salary is he going to ask for? Personally, I like Victor Osimhen a lot. I'm a big fan of that signing. I think that Juventus could need someone that guarantees you 25 to 30 goals a season. And then, my big detractor was that he goes away for African, right? But if you sign Jonathan David and you have strikers in the team that can still score a lot of goals, you kind of lose the weight of that a little bit, right? Now, is he a little bit of a nut job? Yeah, he's kind of a character. He's got a big personality, but like Diego Costa used to score goals and he was a head case on the field. So as long as he's scoring 30, 40 goals, like I don't really care about that,
Yeah. It's interesting. It's kind of wild. I didn't believe that we would be going after two at that level. You always felt like out of the names, you had your upper range guys, and then you had one, like that second tier cut of strikers, and it was like, okay, you'll probably go out of one of the names up higher. One Osimhen, one Jokic, one David, and then maybe look at a like Retegui, look at a Luca, look at a Castro, somewhere like that. So it's wild to hear Fabrizio Romano say that, look, Juve's making contacts daily. It's kind of wild. Like, Mas, do you think we could pull this off? Like, do you think this might actually happen.
Well, I think anything's possible. I think it could happen. Do we need it to happen is the better question. I mean, there's a lot more areas of need on the team over striker at this point as we stand here today. So,
This is the fear.
right, 100%.
This is the fear right there.
I think
You
you
know?
got I think you got a hole at center back that you need to fill. I think you need some help on at fullback. I think you need another striker. I just don't think it's at the level of Osimhen. Osimhen would be great. Listen, the guy potted in 30, 35 goals a year for Napoli for how long, right? So, but for me, I don't think it's. I think it's something we can pull off, but I don't think it's something we need to pull off at this point. I think there's other areas we need to address.
Yeah, that's got to be the big thing is you just can't turn it into patchwork at the back. But is it going to matter? Because we'll get into targets at the back, and it might not matter because it's kind of sounds like slim pickings at the back anyways. So who knows? Maybe with what they're planning and some of the goodbyes, which we'll get into in a bit, maybe that's why they're thinking, hey, we go big, we land these guys, and it's, yeah, you're going to be around the same situation as you are at the back regardless. The names, we'll go through the names at the back, but Omer, your thoughts on Osimhen on top?
Osimhen as a striker is just, he's great. We would be lucky to have him, but something about the deal just doesn't add up. I don't know it. We still have Milik and Vlahovic on the team. There doesn't seem to be a way to get rid of them and make some extra money. So I'm not counting on them. Column one is still an issue. I just don't see it happening. But on the flip side, maybe Comolli is a man with something to prove, and he wants to show that can still make those signings. And yeah, if we want a player, we'll get him, one way or another. I think he kind of does. I mean, he had a statement about it that Juve should go back to buying the top players from the other clubs in the league and such. So maybe that's the case, but I don't see how it happens with all the other needs, how it doesn't suffocate our market and
Did
leaves
want to
us.
did want to
So
add
maybe
to
they have some signings lined up that we don't know about, like a Douglas Luiz and such, so they can finance it and they already know about it. Have to wait
did
and
want
see.
to add to
Interesting.
what Omar said there about Comolli, right? Like when and obviously decisive figure amongst fans, he's kind of an unknown, but his first press conference was about bringing Juventus standards back. Like going back to winning. Even after the Club World Cup, we need to learn how to win, right? If you're gonna go and learn how to win, you gotta sign winners, right? I think if you gave Juventus 3 or 4 like winners, like big time players, right, that make this team instantly better. And I think like John David is one of those. Like he's a character that fits that. Victor Osimhen is another one, maybe probably the best profile that you can think of that's like a winner has won, produced at the top level in Serie A. I think that it is possible. And I also kind of think this management, what I'm learning is they don't want to be handcuffed by anyone. Players underperforming, Douglas Luiz, Nico Gonzalez, already out the door, right? Like people like Vlahovic, Milik, we'll talk about the Vlahovic situation a little later. It's kind of like you're no longer in the project. Like we're moving on and we're moving full speed ahead with or without you gone. We don't want to be held hostage by anyone anymore. You're seeing even with like renewals of Weston McKennie, right? Like can't get that down. Age of commission's high. All right, you're up for sale. Like they have this kind of attitude. It seems like where it's like we're not going to be held hostage. Conceição is kind of another one. Like we can't strike a deal with Porto. All right, we're looking at Jadon Sancho. Like it just that management. It looks like they're trying to act like a big club. It's like hey, it's Juventus first. We're not being held hostage by anyone else. At least that's the impression I get. Whether they can execute that or not, we'll see. But that's just the way I look at it when I read in the news. Is that it's a very no-nonsense policy at the moment.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit all over the place when you're trying to make sense of it all because Comolli's MO has been Moneyball. And now all of a sudden you're talking about landing Jonathan David, which fits the mold for Moneyball, but then all of a sudden you're still looking at Osimhen and still making contacts trying to do this. It's interesting. A part of me wonders if maybe there's a little bit of gamemanship too, and maybe just making things a little bit extra difficult for Napoli. and prepping themselves there, and that would be something. Nobody's really talking about it, but that would be a tip of the hat to the old school. I'm not saying that they're doing that, but I mean, that would be a hell of a play to drag things on, to get them going, to take them out, because that 75 million release clause actually fades away in, I believe, 2 or 3 weeks. It fades away and it's gone completely. And the longer this thing goes, Napoli's staring down the barrel of losing this guy on a final contract here, right? There are reports from Napoli journalists claiming that the relationship is starting to get worked on from Napoli's end, and that him actually remaining could become a possibility, and that Conte's open up to this. So this Osimhen thing, it's far from over, and it's all over the place. As we stand, I would love an attack of Colomouani, Jonathan David, and Yildiz. I think that's strong, very strong. Would have to be one of the strongest in Serie A easily. If you were able to add Osimhen, that would be an insane strike force. Even with just David, Osimhen, Yildiz. Insane. But again, I'm happy either way. With Colomouani, we have to wait and see what PSG is going to do. They turned down the loan with option. It's going to have to be obligation at the least, but they might still try and fight for a sale this summer. Chelsea seems to be the one club interested. But when you're looking at this whole thing, if Juve's going to strike again, even if you're talking about Backline, if it's a bigger wage or anything, they've got to figure things out with Dusan Vlahovic. This thing is a mess. This is where the true test for Comolli lies, is how he can deal with this situation. Dude, when they're talking about termination yesterday and those rumors start to surface, that's a disaster for Juve to terminate the contract. And people couldn't quite understand what I was trying to explain on the daily video. It's simple. You have 38 million euros still that this player stands us between his salary and the original purchasing fee. You've got 19 in gross on salary, and the rest, just shy 20 million, is from the purchase price. If you're looking at making a severance package, you're paying him out on an agreed fee. You're taking in nothing on a sale. That's disaster for Juve. So the best case, I've been saying for a while, find a team. Sell him for whatever you can. Whatever he agrees upon with a salary for this other club. Write a check for the difference if you're Elkan, and say goodbye and let Comolli work on the rest of the roster. That always has been the best game plan and the best plan of attack for Dusan right now. There's no other way around it. A severance? That's a disaster. Mas, what do you think about this whole situation?
It's actually sad, to be honest, because this guy came over with such hype, coming off a great season with Fiorentina, and to look to see where it's at now is pretty brutal. But I mean, like you said, we got to figure this out somehow because it's hampering the rest of our business. Clearly, we don't want to spend $38 million to get rid of this guy. Like you said, find any deal possible, even if you got to split the guy's salary for the following season just to get him off the books. I don't know. Juve's known about this situation for a long time. They knew this was coming. I don't understand what the delay is here. What is the hope? What is the end game? Are you hoping he's going to stick around? Are you hoping he's... I don't know. It's just it's frustrating, and it's hampering what we need to do to make this team better going forward. Especially this guy.
This is where Comolli's going to earn his keep on this Vlahovic situation. Lou?
To Mass's point, the holdup, Vlahovic has offers that he's turned down. He turned down an offer from Turkey. He's turned down offers from Saudi Arabia. There's indications he wants to play in the Premier League, right? Or in Serie A. But people don't want to match that wage. And if we're being honest, right? We're being truly honest, because sometimes fans are like, oh, why can't we sell this guy? We complain about his wage and his production. What do you think a team that's looking to buy him is thinking? right? Like 57 goals in 4 years is not, 12 million in wages, salary, right? Just because a Premier League team signed a local lad for that much doesn't mean they're going to sign someone from Serie A, right? Like it's a big hindrance. I personally don't believe the severance rumors. I think that's kind of something that just like it came out of left field from Tutto Sport, and it was just one of those things like, hey, throwing it out there. If it was at the end of the summer market, it looked like he was going to be out of the squad for like the start of the season, maybe I'd buy into it a little bit more. But I think we're looking at like a Chiesa situation where as soon as training camp starts, he's out, and they're just going to make him sit there, which I think is the right decision. Make him sit on the sidelines, make him train with the under 23s, and you're like, hey, here's reality. Because it seems like Vlahovic also is trying to call Juventus's bluff, where it's like you're not going to sit someone out with 12 million, and it's like, well, we signed Victor Osimhen and Comolli and Jonathan David. Yeah, we're going to do that because we don't need you, right? And that's the complex situation of it. It's a mess because on the player's end, if he's not budging, you can only do so much, right? You can kick him out of the squad, but if he's going to be like, hey, I'm going to sit for a year because you're not going to kick me out, you get in this weird scenario where it's like, how can you accommodate a player like that? That's not to make an excuse for Comolli, because I think that there's work to be done. Al, before the show, mentioned swap deals, things like that. I don't think that the market's over for him yet. And really the transfer market's just getting started. There's injuries. There's clubs that get in like, bad scenarios, are desperate for a striker, may, try to get him. But it's a complex situation on all sides. And that's kind of where we are today. Mass, you're right. It is a sad situation because it's a player that a lot of us were excited for. It was a big signing at the time. Someone that I think at least until like a year and a half ago, people thought like actually wanted to be at the club, wanted to produce for the club. And now we're just at this crazy moment.
Yeah, it sucks. It's been something that's been talked about for 2 years now. This didn't just creep up. It's like they've been working on trying to find a solution because of his salary, etc. And it just hasn't been happening. So you knew it was going to head down this road. There were some that were saying we should have sold him last summer. But if you do that, then you're running tight, because what are you going to do going into the season? It's like you had a contract year on Kane. You didn't end up keeping him. And why would you with 0 goals to his name? Not that Vlahovic with the 58 goals in 4.5 years is anything to write home about, but 0 in an entire calendar year or whatever season, it would have been disaster. So you still wouldn't have gotten money. And that's the thing, is it would have been an extra year where he still stood more on your books and you would have lost even more. So I'm not really into thinking that moving him before this was really an option either, because the value has been down the entire time. This goes back to that Jonathan David signing and picking guys up closer to actual value, or in this case, well below value. That's a reality of how we need to work. 70 on Jokic. I would have loved signing Jokic, but I wouldn't have loved the 70 mil. Osimhen, I think we can get that price down the longer we wait if he doesn't land somewhere. And if he does land somewhere else, like Mas said, all good. All good. We got bigger fish to fry too. The backline. So we look at that. But this situation with Vlahovic, you got to figure it out. Comolli, this is where he's got to make good. And when you start looking at the backline, man, there's not a lot of names out there. Balerdi, it feels like this situation where it's like, he's not for sale. And Juve saying, yes, he is. Well, no, he's not. Yes, he is. What? They're going to have to come out of pocket a lot. Weah. Timothy Weah seems on the outs at Juve. Marseille is interested. Okay, let's see. Maybe we can make some work. Outside of that, Leo Ortiz, not doing it for me. From Flamengo, 29 years old. I know he's cheap, 15 million euros. Not doing it for me. Balerdi, I wouldn't mind. Leone, I would definitely look at one kind of guy with some experience like Balerdi. Laporte, if it's true, 15 to 20 million euros. wants a 3-year contract, around 5 million, I'm in. Bring me Laporte and bring me Leone. I'm happy with that backline. But outside of these guys, it's pretty skinny at center back. What are the names that are enticing you right now at the backline, Omer?
Laporte, and that's where it ends, basically. The rest, like, I have my doubts. I think Laporte is the best out of the bunch by a mile. I think he kind of suits what we're trying to do because he most of his career played for teams who control the ball a lot and mostly deal with counterattacks, and we've been lacking in that area. Super smart, positionally, quiet, experienced. I really like it. If Juve can pull it off, that would be massive, absolutely massive. Um, but I'm in for like keeping Rugani and Gonzalez, and I think that's all she wrote. And I if we get that plus Cabal coming back, for me, move on to other areas.
There you go. And Lou, who entices you at the back?
I like Leone a lot. I think that that's a signing that Juventus should make. It should be a player that we're interested in. There is a lot of concern about him signing for another big club, but hopefully the rumors are true that he wants to stay at Parma another year. That's come from the players' end that he's kind of wants to stay here and develop. So maybe that works in our favor. I agree with Omar that Laporte is the best of those options. Experienced player, personality. He's one at the top level. He's cheap. Omar did mention we have 2 players coming back, which we need to think about. Bremer is like a new signing, right? That's instantly going to improve the team. There's still the wild card of Cabal. He comes back a little bit later in the season, but he's another player depth signing. That Rugani's around. I'm in the minority here. I don't think we need another big center back. I think that the back line with Bremer would be a lot better. It'd be a lot organized. I think just missed that kind of big player. I think the Bremer can give us that. But
I mean, let's look at it that way, Lou. If we do sign Laporte, then we have Bremer, Laporte, Rugani, Gonzalez, Cabal, Gatti, Kalulu. That's 7 center backs. Savona, probably. That's 8.
Savona too.
Unless someone leaves, there's
and
no
Kelly,
signing anyone else.
Here's my thing.
And Kelly, yeah.
Here's my thing. Laporte and Leone. Get rid of Kelly, and you might take a hit there. Is what it is. Elkan, stop fucking around. You were ready to dump $100 million for lost revenue. Get the roster where it needs to be. This game we're playing with Rugani is stupid. A guy that's comfortable being in rotation, that is a safety net, a hell of a safety net, that would have been grossly useful last season, that we sent away on a loan that meant nothing on the books. Keep him around. What we're doing with Rugani is stupid. I know his salary is a bit too high for a rotational guy to that degree. It doesn't matter at this point. At this point, depth is going to be huge for Juve. So you keep him around. Kelly's got to go. Kalulu, I don't even want playing in the back 3. I'd want him used a wide as a wing back. Honestly, that's probably where I'd look at him. Savona, I like keeping Savona around, especially in a 3 center back system, and he can be in rotation there. Gatti, I have no problems with him, but Laporte and Leone, for me, move Kelly on, keep Rugani around. You might open yourself up to a sale somewhere in there, and you're going to need some capital anyways. Are we going to be needing to boost the midfield? Ederson, 60 million? No, thank you. No, thank you. But guys, we're not done on the back line. David Henchko. I've never rated this. I'm not really big on it. I could get behind it. I could see why they want to, but I'm not big on Henchko. Mas, who entices you at the back? Does Henchko kind of intrigue you? 35 million is what the rumor price tag is.
Well, if we're looking at 35 for Henchko, and I hate to bang on this drum again, we talked about it before the show. Why are we not even considering Vega as an option to come back?
Yeah.
What is
And
it?
Chelsea's
40 million?
selling him.
40? Right. If he's on the market, the guy was here last season. I think he played extremely well. I think he's a guy who could be a starting center back beside Bremer. I don't know. He seems like a ready-made option for us. I don't know why we're looking elsewhere, but that's the guy I would be looking at. However, Laporte would not be a bad fallback. A guy who's played international for Spain. He's played on big teams. At the end of the day, we need a body, right? And we need an impact body, I think. Lou mentioned Bremer. Yeah, getting Bremer back is going to be important, but what Bremer are we getting back early on? I think he's going to be back to Bremer level at some point, but I don't think it's going to be early in the season. The guy hasn't played for almost a year. So we can't expect him to start and put in important minutes and be the guy that he was when he went down. So you're going to need a guy to kind of come in there and, be an impact player for us until Bremer's ready to go. Getting Cabal back is going to be big too, but again, he's coming off an injury. So what are you getting back with him? So we need a body.
And that's just it. I think it's going to come down to the deals, what's available to them and everything. Henchko at 35. If you're talking Laporte around 20, even 25, like that's a no-brainer. That's an absolute no-brainer. And sadly, that's probably what's going to affect bringing back a guy like Vega, even though there's contrast there in signings. 20, what is he, 22 Vega? I always forget, 21, 22? 22 going on 38 with that stash. But it's like you got a guy at the beginning that was there with you that showed what he can do, or you got Laporte, that's the experience, that's the vet, that's on a really good deal. We need the experience, so it comes down to weighing out all these options. Guess whose spreadsheet's going to be working overtime? Comolli, but the backline needs help. The attack with David, even now, is going to be good. Kolomuani, let's see. What's the update on Cabal? Cabal's expected to be back in early August, is what he's expected. So
he'll be at the retreat in Germany.
Yeah, so they got that retreat coming up, and even the guys that are injured, like even Lloyd Kelly, whatever, they're all expected to be there for that retreat. Camp starts a week prior, so they're going to reconvene at Continasa like late July in 3 weeks' time, and then early August is when they retreat to Germany, and there is a friendly setup with Dortmund. But Cabal's expected to be there. But again, these guys, Cabal, Bremer, you're going to need a little bit of time. Mas hit the nail on the head there. You don't know what you're going to get immediately, so some coverage, some depth is going to be critical. We got to make some decisions. You can't keep everybody around. It's going to be interesting what they do at the backline, but it sounds like we all want to keep Rugani. Omer just listed him automatically in his. I say keep him. Lou says keep him. Ma says keep him. It's a silly thing we're doing as far as keeping guys. Weah's being pushed out. McKennie is now seemingly at a standstill on his contract extension, and the rumors are there that, hey, he could be shopped yet again. What is this? 4 summers in a row now? It's like McKennie's getting shopped. He'll probably end up playing, and he'll probably end up playing every position other than goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Right?
Good news, guys. Weston McKennie for sale summer means that he's going to give us a 9 out of 10 again next year.
So the second half was pretty rough for old Big Mac there, but and even, he might have been drained. The Club World Cup wasn't the best showing for him. Back in a midfield position too, so it's a tough one. But we got to ask a question. Who do you think Juve should sell? We can't keep everybody. Who do we say goodbye after a week of further developments in contract talks? You've got Gatti extended. Some still saying sell him. You've got Cambiaso now set to get his contract extended. Yildiz is going to see a pay hike to $4.6 million. He's going to be extended. That's to fend off all the interest in this guy and tell other clubs to pretty much suck it. Who do you sell if you're Juve right now? Who's on your sell list?
Well, either one of McKennie or Weah has to be sold. I don't know who. You gotta get rid of those burdens that we have for a long time, like quickly find a solution for Arthur, Milik, maybe even Kostic, although I'm still split on that. And then move on to like Kelly and the guys that I don't know if they'll be easier or harder to move, but those are the main names. Like if you want to keep it real.
Yeah.
I mean, right off the bat, I think Nico Gonzalez and Douglas Luiz have to go. They're just not. They were not up to standard this year. Nico Gonzalez is a little like. I mean, I could see an avenue where you keep him. He did score some big goals down the stretch for us, but just he doesn't look like he fits really anywhere in Tudor's system. He kind of looks a little lost. And just from day one, that transfer has not lived up to its hype. Luiz is another one. I mean, there's still money to be made on Luiz potentially there. And then I think, you look down, I'm in the minority. I really like Weston McKennie. I think he's really solid for us. But if you're going to tell me that you could sell him for 20, 25 mil and it could fund like a Laporte or, another wingback or maybe like a rotational midfielder, I'm not going to say no to that, right? Like his renewal at 3.5 is already a little bit of a stretch. Throw the agent commission fees in there. I understand it. I'd keep him too, but like I'm not against selling him to raise some capital, right? I think Webb, he's got to go. I just think if you want to re-strengthen the wing-back position, which I think that's something they want to do, Webb has to be out of the squad. And then I look at the back line. You are right. There's some Kelly's never really been a fit. I felt bad for the guy. He's just not a Juventus signing from day one. Doesn't seem like a bad guy. He's just not our type of player. I think you got to figure out like Facundo's probably going to go and Bengula. Yeah. But in terms of like making.
Let me ask you a question. How many midfielders do we need to sell before we need to buy a midfielder? Like if we do sell McKennie and Luiz, then a midfielder becomes a priority? Like another thing we have to purchase?
Yeah, I think, well, the problem is now, like, it's a lot like center back, right? Your midfield, you have McKennie, you have Luiz, you have Cope Miners, you have Locatelli, you have Thuram, and then Moretti. That's 6 right off the bat, right? For a double pivot and, whatever the Christmas tree formation you count as a midfielder, that's not counting wing backs, too, because like some of the wing backs are almost kind of like midfielders, right? So if you count the wing backs, you get Costa, you're looking at Cambiasso, there's just not enough.
I want to get players. Mas, who jumps out at you immediately? Your sell. Is it locked in? Because there's still question marks there, even when we're pulling up some of these names. Like you could see it in the chat. Like there's a lot of varying opinions on guys that need to move.
Yeah, I mean, my list wouldn't be much different than the other two guys. All those names are pretty similar to me. The only one I would add on there, and that's if he wants to leave, would be Perin. Just because I think the guy's earned the right to be a starter in the league somewhere. Berto, you've always said it, having 2 starting goalie caliber keepers on your roster is pretty much a luxury. It's not something we should get used to. So if the guy wants to leave and he wants the opportunity to be a starter, I would look for a solution for him. Just when you guys were naming off all those names, it made me think about like, I don't know, kind of how far we've fallen, where like we have so many players on this roster where we'd be like, yeah, we're good, get rid of them. Like
this
right?
is what I've been saying for this past week on daily update videos and everything. The truth is, Juve has accumulated a roster that is squad players.
Yeah.
And we need bona fide, locked in starters. Like that's what you need to do. You need to get the quality up so that the guys that are around right now, the truth is you have a lot of guys that would be just those rotational guys. You have way too many. You need to get bona fide locked in starters and the quality needs to ramp up. So that's why when you're looking at a lot of these rumors, a lot of these names that come up, you're like looking at it, you're like, oh, okay, it is what it is. There's very few that are like, bang, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. 60 million, Ederson, even Ederson in general, is not doing much for me. Because it's just like, if you could work in getting rid of somebody like Nico Gonzalez, if it works on your books and Ederson's cost comes way down to something that's reasonable, and you're maybe spending 10 million, 15 million on top of this swap to bring him in, that actually might make a little bit of sense, especially because I don't think
Even
you
then, I
have,
wouldn't do it.
because I don't think you have a guy that could play backing up Locatelli. That's a problem for this club right now too. Thuram, he could do it, but when they were rotating it in the preseason, it ain't the same. So there's holes, not just in terms of numbers, but in terms of roles. There's nobody else that could do it right now. Coat Miners, it ain't happening. Douglas Luiz, I've said it for a million times. I'll say it again. He doesn't want to be in Turin. He does not want to be in Turin. And the rumors, I believe 100% when you hear that he told his agents to work with Juve to find him a solution back in England. I believe it 100%.
Same here.
But the fact is, we have too many rotational players. That's the thing. And even Ederson, when you're looking at that, like I said, maybe because of that need, but it's still a rather underwhelming name to hear.
But I don't want to break the Locatelli-Thuram partnership that's going on. And Ederson, at his age,
It's not about breaking up the partnership. It's about the fact that nobody's got the traits
but
of
he
Locatelli.
wouldn't come here. But he wouldn't come here to be a substitute player to Locatelli, not for 60 million.
Also,
no,
like,
I wouldn't buy him at 60. I'm saying the value isn't
I wouldn't
right.
buy him at.
But you need a
if we get the
midfielder. If
value
you're looking
down,
at saying goodbye to two, you need a midfielder. A Hoylman at 80 million? What the fuck are we talking about?
No.
Well,
Absolutely not.
I was right when he talks about like you need players that replace characteristics. Like even Thuram, like if you think about it, like is there another player in the team that does what Thuram gives us on the pitch? No. If you think about like our really good teams, right? Like you think about the 14-15 team, right? You have Pereira. He wasn't like a great player, right? But characteristically, he could fill in for a Vidal or a Mark or a Pogba, like here or there, right? He could play that 8 role. You know, like Juventus. If something happens to one of those guys, they don't have anyone that fills those gaps, right? I think Luiz was supposed to be one of those players, but just never really took off. That's why, like in the chat, like our private chat, I was so annoyed by the Ricci deal because Ricci's a player that was there for cheap, could have backed up Locatelli, you know, and then maybe one day pass Locatelli, right? You know, like it's low market, high upside, right? Those are kind of the players you got to look at. And I think when you ask me, Omar, like, will we start looking at midfielders if we sold midfielders? Yeah, if you sell Douglas Luiz or you sell McKinney, you have to replace that with another player, right? And then that's maybe when you look and go, okay, we have 2 players who do this really well. How do we get 2 players who are like that, right? And if there is a big midfielder, right, just because we play a double pivot doesn't necessarily mean next season we will still play a double pivot. I mean, the 3-5-2 or the 3-4-3 that he plays can become a 3-5-2 with 3 in the midfield. We saw that when Conte was our coach, right? You know, like that could also be something that it is worked out and, you know, maybe is more beneficial. I don't know. But
I got to address this in the chat too, because Torino would have asked 50. Torino would have bumped the price to 80. Would they have? What did we pay for Bremer?
Yeah.
Same price that he was there for the taking for Inter. I'm
Also,
not 100% sure Torino would have done that. I'm not 100% sure.
To throw back on that argument a little bit, right? So people say that, but that's a player that's proven to play well in Serie A, right? We go and spend like 40, 50 million on players abroad that are kind of like unknowns, right? Like our 40, 50 million signings the last like 2 years have not been very good signings either. Like it's just like, so these big name players that, you know, like we're getting from abroad, like Douglas Luiz is the perfect example of it. They're not necessarily like coming in and making much of a difference either.
Yeah.
No, my point is you don't get a Ricci for, you know, battling his place out at Juve when he has Milan promising him a starter role because Rangers just left. So maybe we need to aim a bit different, not to players who expect to be first team players right off the bat. See what I'm saying? You don't get your Edersons if they don't get playing time.
Well, and we didn't talk about this on the sale list, but I personally have stood on this since like February, March that we should bring back Moretti next season, which I know is decisive amongst fans, but
this whole midfield discussion, it has to tie into Tudor because if you're playing two midfielders.
Yeah.
So the numbers are going to be gross right now because we built a team for three. You built a team for three on the pitch at all times. Now all of a sudden you've got two. You're utilizing a third in roles that they shouldn't be because you don't have anybody that should be playing in those dynamic roles behind the striker. And that's a major problem I have with Tudor so far in the Club World Cup games when he was bringing on Cope Miners. This thing with Cope Miners in dynamic roles, it ain't happening. But we'll get to that in a bit. Sell list, Perrine, only if he wants to go. Otherwise, I don't. At the back, Lloyd Kelly, sell. And Ruhi, sold. In the midfield, they list Kostic as a midfielder, sell. Adzic, loan, if we're not going to give him minutes. Talk about dynamic roles, a player that should be seen in one of those roles. Adzic is one. Cope Miners, I'm going to give him this year. Weston McKennie, I don't sell Weston McKennie. I sell Weah. Douglas Luiz, sell. Conceição, it's a keep for me. Vlahovic, sell. Gonzalez, I'm actually torn on Gonzalez. I know everybody sell.
So am I.
Depends.
You need a little bit of a guy that could come off the bench that has some experience.
He gave us some good performances down the stretch of the season. There's some goals in there that we don't get top four without.
Milik is a sell. Weah is a sell. Imbangula only if the value makes sense. Otherwise, I don't even sell him. So there's not a lot that you're looking at on a sell list either. But
yeah.
Well, some of them we need to buy in order to keep them.
It's going to be interesting to see how Comolli works this out.
Your point about dynamic players, right? Like,
let's get into Tudor. Let's get into these Club World Cup games, what we saw, because there are concerns around Tudor that I think are fair. But Lou, jump in.
So like, I think that we've not watched this for a whole year. These dynamic players in the midfield, the 3-4-2-1 that we see from Tudor classically, right? And Yildiz is a dynamic player. He excels in a play like that, right? At Comolli, the way he plays, excels in something like that. But then you get guys like Nico Gonzalez or Cope Miners who just like look lost on the pitch. And I thought the reason I like keeping Tudor was he took bad elements of the team during the season and flipped it, right? You know, he restored some guys that were out of the project. He brought life to some of these dead weight players, right? Players got better under him. But what I saw at the Club World Cup was there's no like alternative solution for some of these guys. Cope Miners being a big example, right? Me, Mass, and Al all saw him live. And when you watch him live, you could see a really good player in there. Like, he moves well. His movement's really good. His 1-2s, his layouts were really good. But you could just see a player that's in a role that he's just not comfortable in, right? And then it becomes, well, you have your double pivot, right? Like Omar's right. You don't want to break up the Locatelli-Thuram kind of double pivot, right? But you also have a player in Cope Miners that if you could figure out, you maybe put him in a midfield 3, put him somewhere, you have a really, really good player in there that maybe could give you what you're looking for in the market for a midfielder. But they're not like evolving with the players around them. They're not changing anything. Not like it's just one position back. Maybe you go with a front 2 instead of a front 3. Like, you have to change a little bit. That's something that bothered me. Attitude was another one during the Club World Cup that bothered me a little bit. I do get the flip side. Hey, it's a long season. These guys are kind of like half dead. Some teams take this tournament serious, others don't. Whatever. But, we were almost – some of those games like City – City was awful. Even the Real Madrid game, which I thought we played decent in the Real Madrid game, but our attitude was kind of like a more pragmatic small club that's just only counterattacking, right? Instead of like really trying to go and hit them in the mouth, early, which I thought we were going to get under Tudor, and we didn't really get. There's where I have some concerns where it's like, and also like going forward, there's still like no solutions onto like what to do in the final third. It's kind of like whatever you want, which is a big issue, I think, for this team as is.
Yeah, my thing with Tudor. So I see Matt's comment in here that's just saying it wasn't anybody's first choice, Tudor, but the second Conte didn't come to us, he was the best option for next season. No point in complaining about Tudor. It's not about complaining. It's about the fact that he's got a lot of work to do as well. Like, at some point, you know, we can't just be like, oh, this is what it is and that's it. That's not good enough for Juve, and it shouldn't be. The fact of the matter is he's got a lot of work to do. Like, we have to all come to this realization. We just spent however amount of time talking about this roster, talking about the fact that due to circumstances over the past 5 seasons, Juve has accumulated a roster that is predominantly made up of rotational players. That's reality. Superstars? You have 1 in Bremer, and you have 2 in the making probably, with Yildiz, Thuram. That's the reality. Jonathan David, he's a Canadian superstar. Will he be a Juve superstar? A worldwide superstar? I hope so. But that's the reality of the roster. So the thing is that you have to look at whatever coach comes in, because any coach that comes in, and this was the big draw to Conte, is the fact that you need a guy that can turn these guys into the David versus Goliath. Because that's going to be the reality of the roster. So, Club World Cup, a lot of people didn't take much out of it. I got flack for being pissed off that he wasted a game against Man City. But how valuable would that game have been to try and figure out what you want to do to try and hurt these teams before playing Real Madrid, which even if you approach the game against City properly, you probably were going to face anyways in the next round. And you wasted that game. You took away any momentum. And furthermore, it's just, it's strange to me, some of the decisions that we're making. There is nothing to gain with this dead wood that you put out there. There is nothing to gain. Even against that game against Real Madrid, the fact that Kostic sees the pitch is an absolute joke to me. His changes made no sense. But, like, furthermore, utilizing that game to figure out how you can hurt these teams, because you have to find a way, because you're not going to just be playing the Serie A squads. For me, Tudor's game, I like the way he wants his team to play the game, but it is only effective against mid to low level teams. He's got, obviously, from what we saw, he needs to figure out a way to bring more out of them against those teams. My one thing with Tudor, his in-game management needs to be better, but he needs to figure out how to bring that attitude out of the team, that fight. Because I'm watching Brazilian teams that a lot of people can't even name 3 guys on these teams, 2 guys on these teams, and they are causing havoc against good teams, better quality teams. Until our roster gets to where we want it to be or where we need it to be, any coach that would have come in has to figure out how to do that. And that's my one thing. Tudor's just got to figure it out. If he's hell-bent on a 3-4-2-1 when you know you're going to get dominated in the midfield, that ain't going to be good enough. So that's my thing, is I just have some concerns he's going to be way too rigid, like he was everywhere before us. He's got to figure out that there are going to be times you can't do what you want to do. What's up next? That's my only thing with Tudor that I'm worried about.
I think it's, of course, he still has room to grow and stuff to learn. But I mean, look at that team. We just named more than half the team that can be sold. It's not a team that he assembled. It's a super long season. And then you play a Man City that has spent 400 million since January. And you see that lineup against Kalulu, Savona, Kelly, Kostic, and Alberto.
I didn't tell him not to play Rugani. I didn't tell him not to
No,
flood
he could have
midfield.
played. Yeah. He could have played everyone. He could have played all the great guys. What I'm saying is, of course, he's not the final product. Of course, he has a lot of growing up to do. We knew that before the Club World Cup, and it hasn't changed for me. His real test starts at the new season.
But I think that you're right, Omar. I do think, like, to Berto's point, it's like, just because you have a bad team on paper doesn't necessarily mean you can't make certain in-game adjustments to try to give yourself a slight advantage. The reality is, we named all these players, right? Not all those players are going to be sold. Like, in FIFA, we could sell all those players. Some of those players are going to end up being here. Your Lloyd Kellys, maybe even McKinney, some of these guys are going to be in your team next year. So it's, how do you change the lineup tactically to make up for those weaknesses? Hey, we're in the midfield pivot. It's good. We're playing Man City with 3 great midfielders. Maybe we add 3 or 4 players in the midfield to try to give us an advantage, right? Those are the little things that you do, right? It just,
my point stands firm, is that your team isn't going to see this massive FIFA overhaul that's like, oh, now Tudor can cook because he got... No, like, you're still going to have to create this beast, this demon to play against. And I feel like the Club World Cup, well, everybody's, well, long season, that's the perfect time to work out shit, because it's like, that's the time I want to see your alternatives. That's the time I want to see, because it's not a big thing. Yeah, you lose to Man City, okay, whatever, but what did you try? What did you work on? What did we develop? We did nothing against them or Real Madrid. That it feels like 2 games where it's like, I don't really see what we're working towards. What, and to say that it's because of the roster, well, against Madrid, you can't, because a lot of those guys are going to be there next season to lose points. So I'm just saying, it's not the be-all, end-all, but I think that the Club World Cup could have been handled a bit differently. Showcasing guys, there's no showcase left for Vlahovic, for Kostic, for, like, what are we talking about here? Nonetheless, we got around 35 million euros from the tournament. Comolli hopefully can put that to good use, because we need work on the roster. Okay, let's see. Jonathan David's first one. This is a good deal. And again, we take zero responsibility, all the Canadians, as part of the AJC, if it doesn't work out. All right? So the whole thing with players working out at Juve is a whole different beast too. Because that's just something that's wild. When you look at Douglas Luiz, when you look at Colt Miners, even when you talk about Nico Gonzalez, like I keep saying, there's something in the air. There's something at the core where we got to sort out, because this is wild. But we are going to get to storm the barn. Adam, what would have happened if Juve didn't sign Jonathan David? It would have been David stating.
All right, Adam, you're out.
That is straight red, brother. That is terrible. Holy
I appreciate the
but we
effort.
love it. We love it.
Yeah.
But that's a red card. You're about to pass Montero as well for all-time leaders, because these reds are tallying up. Holy smokes. David stating? Come on. In my opinion, we should sell Luiz, Nico Gonzalez, Lloyd Kelly, Dushan. If we can, Colt Miners, even with the loss. And then buy Leone, Luca, and I have to add Dybala. Well, I mean, your name, Joe 10 edits, would probably imply that, yes, Dybala is going to be on your purchase list. I don't know about taking the loss on Colt Miners just yet. I just really need to see him play in a midfield. And this is another thing, too. Because you want to get a player in, or you want to get a player in game in minutes, going back to this Club World Cup and opportunities wasted and everything. How on earth can we not just flatten out the midfield and attack with 2 rather than still try to use one guy as this dynamic player, which was Colt Miners? Make it a 3-5-2. Alternate how you use Yildiz as opposed to 2 dynamics behind strikers. Make it classic 3-5-2. Just something simple like that. Colt Miners, when played in a midfield very few times last season, made more sense, looked a little bit better. The only difference from Atalanta with Gasperini to anything else, even when he's on Dutch duty, is the fact that they're very, very attack-oriented. They send all numbers. He just had a lot of freedom. Like, he was playing in a regular midfield, 3-man midfield, 3-5-2. He just had a ton of freedom. But this whole thing in this isolated advanced role thing, I don't get it. It's not translating.
Well,
One thing
and
about
and
go ahead.
Lou said it right. Like you're looking for players that are proven in Italy. I refuse to believe that this guy just forgot how to play the game. He was a dominant midfielder at Atalanta. That's why everybody wanted him. I mean, it just hasn't worked out to this point. You can't give up on him now. I mean,
It
Yeah.
seems like he does exactly the opposite of what he did at Atalanta. Like at Atalanta, he used to pop up to rebounds and volleys, and he was this anonymous guy who used to pop up everywhere. And now at Juve, it seems like he's always next to the ball. He always wants it to his feet and trying to be the facilitator. And I don't think that role suits him. I want him disappeared on the pitch to pop up like he used to do at Atalanta and stop trying being this Pirlo to the team or whatever.
My one thing about Coop Miners and why I'm for giving him a second chance, Tudor. Well, the things we like about Tudor, right? What I said before, like he took a couple players that were out of the squad, not really useful, and made them useful again for Juve. Coop Miners was there for one Tudor game and then was injured for the rest of the year, right? We never really got to see if Tudor could get his, even the Club World Cup, maybe he had the one game and he was, still kind of recovering. Never really got to see a period of time to see if Tudor could, maybe bring that serenity that he didn't have under Monta, give him some of that, that good vibe that we saw towards the end of last season, right? That's where I'm a Coop Miners, and you're right, Mass is right. There was a top player in there. There was a proven player in there. I'm willing to give maybe a little bit more leeway to see if, a new coach, a better environment would maybe help this player. If we're looking at a year, sell Coop Miners for a loss, are you going to find a player necessarily that had the quality he had at Atalanta in the market? Maybe, but we're also kind of just, it's another moving piece, right? So that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah. What number will David wear? I think the number 9 will be saved for Osimhen if he comes. Well, I was joking about it in the green room, but I said Juve should have just announced him with the 9 and started that push to the freeze and call Vlahovic's bluff there. But I don't know. He might. Nobody's rocking 20 right now. Kolomuani's rocking 20. Otherwise, I bet you would have taken that. Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Osimhen to get the 9, man. I still can't fathom Osimhen, Yildiz, David, but that would be wild. Yes, there is a signed contract, but I feel that Vlahovic is acting greedily. He is not delivered and definitely not worth a salary of 12 million. What can be done to convince him to leave? Well, we talked about it. I mean, freezing him out and just letting him know that you're willing to do that. Is that the best decision for Vlahovic career-wise? Yeah, you're getting a lot of money. It's down to your final year, but what does that say about you? What does that say about you to the teams looking to sign you? There's rumors that Inter are also waiting for him on a free next season and whatnot. I honestly don't care where the hell he goes. This is one player that I've just been saying it needs a break for the team and the player. But I guess the issue I have when I get into my own opinion and how I think Juve should act is because if it were me in Vlahovic's shoes, that's an absurd amount of money. But a part of me would be embarrassed. At how it went. And I would be like having a chip on my shoulder. And I would be like, I don't understand why you can't sign for a club that would want you and be like, yeah, you know what? I'm not making as much, but I definitely didn't earn that much. It feels a lot like, and I guess it's because I'm of a different generation where you earn your keep type thing, type mentality, and it feels wrong to get something that you haven't earned or deserved. Like, I don't know. But I would be embarrassed to some degree.
Might I just say, those players, this generation of players, are a bunch of whiny. I can't say it with their Instagram posts and the hints from the agents on different platforms and whatever. Like looking back at our previous banter era, look at the guys like that we signed to be the big names. Do you remember them twisting Juve's arm like that when things didn't go the way they planned? Your Amauris, Diego, Krasic, all those guys who came in on like high fees and whatever. They just accepted their fate. They told them we don't need you, and they left.
Yeah.
And we get that repeatedly with every fucking player that hasn't lived up to the hype. He makes a big scene. I mean, the only reason we're talking about Vlahovic and all those solutions is because he's putting up a wall and no, I'm not listening to anything. I would rather sit on the bench and earn my paycheck. And that's a loser mentality, an absolute fucking loser mentality.
It's
24, 25
embarrassing.
years old. He's 24, 25 years old. And like you'd think someone like that like has ambition, right? Like wants to go to go to another league and like prove yourself, right? Go to the Premier League, prove yourself. Like fine. But you're gonna sit on the bench to make 12 million. I mean, it's just, and that's another thing where people are like, hey, we gotta find a solution. We gotta do this. It's like you're right, we do, but how do you deal with a player that like shows that kind of attitude? If I'm another club and I'm like, hey, I'm interested in Vlahovic, but wait, he's going to sit on the bench at Juventus because he wants to make his paycheck. Like, unless you're a Saudi team, like you're not really like if you're a competitive team, you're not looking for a player like that, right? Like that's just it's a nightmare.
It's not only him; it's Wen and Bangula. It happens with every player who doesn't want to leave. Not only at Juve, I mean everywhere.
Yeah, but I mean we've been talking about agents the last couple of weeks too, right? I have to imagine he's getting some really bad advice from whoever his agent is. I don't know who it is, but
Ristic,
I don't know. He seems like a good kid. It boggles my mind that he would be making these decisions on his own. Even like his social media people. I mean, all these players have these different arms that manage their career now, right? So it's definitely a different time for sure.
It's stupid. So Del Juve Piero saying, I would be doing the exact same thing if I was in Duchamp's shoes. No effing way I'm accepting a massive pay cut. So you would be willing to, at this juncture of your career, sit out an entire season to just accept that money rather than swallow some pride, realize that no one else is responsible for you failing. You failed to deliver at Juve, and you would sit it out and just accept that money rather than accept less but actually further on your career and go to a club that wanted you.
And
I would not do that. If I'm not wanted, to me, it's crazy to me. Yes, I know people are going to say, no, you're talking crazy because if you were making 12 million, you would do the exact same thing. I can promise you, everybody. In my professional career, I have walked away from way more money than I'm making currently because of not being happy. Money isn't everything. And in the grand scheme of things, leaving 12 million to get 6, it's like we're talking like 6 million is nothing. Are you crazy? To go to a place he wanted to? This is a massive, massive lack of pride and lack of ambition.
Same, we're talking about Jadon Sancho's in the news a lot recently too. And that's another one where you have a player, right, who had a failed move to Manchester United, goes to Chelsea, asks his agent not to make sure he doesn't redeem with Chelsea. He wants to move to a project where he's the center of a project. And then come to Juventus is a good club. It's an ambitious club. It's a big club. You could be one of the better players here. And the holdup is, again, salary issues. And it's like you have some of these players that they don't understand that football's a business, right? They like in the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, it felt like everyone understood this is a business, right? You live day to day in it, right? Today you're the guy, tomorrow you may not be, right? And I think, as well, like it's almost created like a lack of ambition where it's like they feel like, oh, I put 4 years to the club here, they owe me. And it's like, no, you don't. And if you're not good enough to be at Juventus, it doesn't mean you can't move to another big club somewhere else. You just may have to take a little less. Like if you're an ambitious player, why wouldn't you do that?
you just can't. Like, here's the flip side. You've got a guy that is hated. I would call him hated in Locatelli. Okay? He's got $5 million a season that he makes on his salary. What does he say in interviews? He took full accountability. I need to do better. I need to be better. I need to improve. I'm going to put my head down. I'm just going to work and focus on that. Never talk shit, never said anything, never made excuses, never did anything. When have you heard once Dusan Vlahovic say, I need to be better? When have you ever heard that? I remember an international duty, him talking about systems this, coaches that, whatever. When has he said flat out, I need to do better? I have never heard it in 4.5 fucking years.
Yeah, and another thing too, like, when
I'm
it comes
over
to
it.
like, yeah,
I'm over it.
It's BS. It's ridiculous. And you know, the other thing too, when it comes to like someone like Vlahovic, right? Like, yeah, it's not all on said player, but like you would think that at this point, like even if it's not all on him, he just want like a fresh start. Like, just take the fresh start somewhere else. I was gonna say we talked about like attitude and like accountability. The three of us saw him live. And I think the general consensus amongst everyone that was in that section, I mean, he was on the pitch against Wydad for about 20 minutes, and all he did was complain about his service. He yelled at his teammates. It was just terrible. Like, there's no
I would have taken him right back off. I'd have been like, go sit down and shut the fuck up. I'm just, I don't know. I've had it, man. I've had it. We got to move on before I seriously smash something. Should Juve use their money to strengthen their start 11 or bolster the overall squad? Thoughts? Starting 11, you've got a lot of rotation. We need some bona fide starters. I think we all agree, right?
I personally believe you get 3-4 good starters, and this team is a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What do we got here? Let's keep things rolling here. I think that Laporte would potentially be Barzagli 2.0, signing an experienced center back on a cheap that could grow into a club legend. He'd definitely be my main pick for the center back role. I mean, we'd all be happy with Laporte. And we talked about that before. If that rumored value is true, you have to entertain it. You have to absolutely look at that. If all of it's true. 3-year deal. He's how old? 31 years old. 3-year deal, taking him to 34 for defenders. Fine. $5 million a season. Not going to kill us. That's right in the middle where we want to be. Yeah. I mean, you have to.
Right?
You have to. You need experience on this team too.
He also gives you a bridge. He gives you a bridge for next year too. Like it's like if he's the starter for this year, maybe next year the center back market's better. You can get like the next Viega or something like that. That gives you a bridge, right?
Yeah. And then you've got, I think Rugani is back in. Apparently, I'm really happy about that. Well, I don't know. Sounds like he might. It sounds like he wants to stay. His will is to stay and remain. We got to wait to see what the club says. Omer wants to keep Kostic as the backup left wing back to Cambiaso in that 3-4-3. No.
Called you out, Omar.
No, I still do. No, I said it recently, and I still think we need depth in that position. Unless we sign someone, and then he can fuck off. But right now, I don't mind keeping him. Not as a starter, obviously, but just as a rotation guy, yeah.
I'm a fuck no on that, man. Like,
So
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sorry. I'm just like
huge
fuck
minority.
no,
Here.
man.
You know what,
Like,
Just
you know what,
me and another guy. That's it. We are the only
you know what
ones
my
who say that.
terrifying thought is with this?
like
Is that-
fuck
is that-
no.
My thought on this is that Cambiaso doesn't get past his injury rules, and we get stuck with Kostic as a starter for like 20 plus games next year. Kill me.
I can't even look at this guy's face anymore, man. Like, Kostic comes up and it's just like this feeling comes over me, like just I could vomit instantly. Like, it's just I can't do it, man. No.
He's
like
a,
just
he's
just
a club
no.
icon.
No. Sami Zayn, big shout out. Thank you for the super chat. Hey guys, how are we going to start the season? 27 players listed on Juve's website main squad. 13 are out of the project. 6 are actually worthy of starting. 2 of which loans. We need 1 player a week till September. I don't know. I guess we should use this to kind of, how much action do you actually see? So Jonathan David's wrapped up. Like, how many more players do you think we're signing? Let's not focus on how many guys we actually ship out, but like, what do you see for incoming players? Another 2, 3, 4?
I'm at 4 to 5.
Another 4 to 5 or 4 to 5 total with David?
4 to 5 total
With David. Ooh.
So you hear my thing is, I look at it like I said this since about like April, March. Like you get 3 big signings, right? Well, we already have 1 in attack, so maybe like 3 more big signings, right? And then I think you have like 1 or 2 squad players to fill in there, or it's 2 big signings and 1 to 2 squad players, right? But you do like, I don't think we need to make a big splash in midfield necessarily. Like I don't think there's a 70 million player we're bringing into midfield, right? Maybe a big defender, maybe a Victor Osimhen. Those are your 2 big signings, right? But then I think like you need like players that fill gaps and like a backup left wing back, or like a second. You probably need a second keeper, things like that.
Mas, how many guys do you think total we bring in?
I mean, it's going to be a moving number based on who we get rid of. I think as it stands now, the way the team is built, I'm thinking another 2 to 3 at max. One of those being a center back, one of those being a fullback, and another striker. Again, if we start gutting the team and selling off all these guys that we had on that list, you're going to need more. I mean, we're playing in all competitions next season, right? If we want to be competitive in all areas, you're going to need a team with a lot of depth. So,
also, some of those players out of the squad don't necessarily mean that they'll stay out of the squad. Like we've seen with McKinney 3 years in a row, he's like out of the squad and then ends up like staying in the squad, right? There's players that may stay.
I'm gonna say you got a striker, David. You're gonna get a midfielder, you're gonna get a center back, and you're gonna get a fullback. So I'm gonna say you get 4 signings, and then you might get like a cheap one here or there. So maybe 5 total. We go with something like that. And I guess the other thing you got to factor in, Colomwani and Chico situations, like that could be a couple players that would technically be additions where we're thinking of them as being current players because they are listed. As Sam pulled up that on the website, they're still listed as Juventus players. So let's see if we sell Big Mac and Luis. The only guy that brings something unique, the rumor targets, would be Bissouma. He'd be a great signing and is one of the most underrated midfielders in England. What do you guys? So those rumors just crept up today on Bissouma there. What do you guys think about him, Omer?
Personally, I like him. I think he was relatively good for Tottenham. I think he had a big injury, and that's why I've seen a bit less of him in the past season. Maybe I'm confusing him, but he is a good midfielder. Yeah, an interesting name. I wouldn't mind him.
Lou?
I don't know about that one. I'm a little torn on it. 50-50 for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know on Bissouma. Mas, any thoughts on Bissouma?
I don't know a lot about him. I know he's got a big motor for sure. I'm just always very hesitant for players from the EPL coming over to Italy. McTominay was a outlier for sure. That's not going to happen every time. Yeah, I wouldn't put him at the top of my list for once. That's for sure.
Yeah, a couple question marks there. Hey, Alberto, this is from Giuseppe. What happened with Adeyemi? Been very, very quiet. Very, very quiet. Very, very quiet. Been hearing from other Juve cast saying that some fans want to bring back Chiesa or Bernardeschi. Would you be down with any of the 3?
Oh my God. That's where we're
no
at.
No to Berna, no to Chiesa return. And Adeyemi, price dependent, I'll say. Price dependent. Guys, you
Is
down
there a
with any of
player-
those three?
It's a firm no on all three.
Agreed.
Yeah. Is there any
Firm?
guy who left Juve in recent years that you would welcome back? I would take the lift back if he's an option.
Maybe like
Yeah.
maybe one of the young players that we let go.
Romero. I take Romero
Oh yeah,
back.
Romero's a good shout, Mass.
Dare I say Hoyson? No. I don't.
Ow.
Too early.
That's violence.
I
That's
don't think
violence.
I don't actually feel that way about anybody recently that we've said goodbye to. Delict.
Maybe well,
Pretty hard for me to pick him after I told him he could delict my balls. So no, I'd probably say no to all these guys. And I'm sorry, Swarit, because I said no to Chiesa. Alberto out. There we go. It's not a AJC podcast if we don't get Alberto out hashtag. So
yeah.
Giuseppe, fly to Turin with a trash bag and drag Vlahovic out and put him on a boat to Turkey. Oh yeah. We got to get him out here. We got another one with there. I need a getaway driver. We'll fly to Turin. Oh yeah, and just bag Giuseppe just wants Vlahovic out at all cost. All cost.
Same.
Where is Jurassic Skanga? Oh my god. Right now there is a Matlock just full rewind, and he's just probably parked eating cheesies on his couch watching Matlock. Old bastard Skanga. Listen, final piece of business. You guys know I love the kits, okay? So we got to bring this one out. We got to discuss it. This is the third kit rumored. This is it. We're going to rate it out of 10. Everybody in the chat, this kit, rating out of 10. We're going to start this one with Mas. What do you think?
I don't get the desire to have these sort of images like the prints on it all the time. Maybe I'm old school, I don't know, but for me, if you were to just keep that black, maybe put the Adidas stripes on the shoulder to white, have the sponsor on there, it would be a class kit. For me, the way it is there, I think it's the best out of the three that we have this season. I'd probably give it a 7.
Okay. Omer?
Yeah, 7. I feel 7 is the right answer. I mean, it's not as good as last season, but definitely the best this season.
Lou?
It's a 4. I hate this kit.
4?
I do.
Whew.
Hate it. Here's why I hate it. It looks like a goalkeeper's kit. Like it looks like one of the goalies will have wore this last year. It just doesn't.
So
It doesn't. The design on the front doesn't do it for me. The only thing I like about this is the horse logo. I like keeping that for the third kit. But that's sick. If it was like solid black with no design, maybe. But the stripes and everything, it looks like a goalie's kit to me.
I'm going to say like the collar and the cuffs on the sleeves looks bad to me. The green stripes on the shoulder, it's like weird. The pattern, I get it, the vineyards, the vines, but it literally looks like a set of drapes at Nonna's house that they've turned into a kit. Like I've seen other images where it's not super visible and it makes the kit look way better. When you're looking at it and it stands out, it's too much. I don't know, but it's not a terrible kit. I'm at like a 7, still pretty clean. 7. Is it the best one out of the 3? Everybody says the best one out of the 3. I'm going to actually say that if you get the home kit with no sponsors, even if you don't like the Visit Detroit thing, you need the sponsors on that kit to break up the barcode stripes. And with the sponsor actually goes a long way. I don't see as much separation from this kit to the home. The away one is by far the worst. That Bonnie Blue tribute kit is the worst, hands down.
The away one's a negative 10 out of 10.
But, you know.
Can we just stop with the patterns, please? Everybody's doing it.
The Bonnie Blue pattern, like that evening with Bonnie Blue pattern on the blue is just awful.
Some of these stupid patterns, just like give me stripes, give me solid colors. Like, let's move.
I will say this though, the blue one, when you slap Jonathan David on the back, the Iceman, it actually all starts to make sense and works. And maybe they had that on plans. That's the only thing saving them. Okay, but this one, we'll give it a 7. Names on the back of the kits: Jonathan David. I'll be getting Jonathan David on one of the kits for sure. Well, I got the home already with Luca, but I want to get one for the Club World Cup. They weren't even selling authentic kits like while you were down there at the tournament. Like, talk about a missed opportunity. No kits to get there stamped with Club World Cup badging other than replicas with no name sets. It was pretty weak. They need to step up their game. But Jonathan David, the Iceman, he's here. Will he be boosting Juve? Will he be able to deliver for Juventus? We all hope so. Everyone on the panel seems to think he can. Mas seemed maybe a little bit skeptical, but he just didn't want the Canadian, I think, to come out there and say that. Jonathan David, give him the 9. Give Dusan Vlahovic one of these, and let's keep it rolling. Comolli wants to make a statement. Let's see what else we can do. We've had a lot of fun. We're obviously going to keep you in the loop on the news rolling through. Daily update videos will not be stopping. And I kept it going through everything in Whistler as well and got a lot of love for that. You guys know I don't take any days off. Lou, what's the famous line? What's the famous line?
The devil works hard, but Alberto works harder.
That's right. That's right. One awful thing that went down that I thought was really cool. Mas brought up Oasis, but they also gave tribute to Jota and his brother Andre Silva. Awful news there. Today was the service, so we're gonna wrap up with just thoughts and prayers, condolences to the families. Could not imagine that one. Struck a lot of chords. Obviously 3 children left behind. Just married to his wife 10 days before this happened. So yeah, as a father, as a husband, as a brother, that is just wild. So yeah.
Do you remember
goes to
anything
show
like
you how precious life is and how quickly it can be taken away. So take your loved ones and let them know. Let them know you love them.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Wild stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Omer? You had some?
Do you remember anything like that happened? Like in your lifetime, a player of that caliber? The last one I remember was Puerta from, I think, Espanyol, 2007. But I don't remember anything like it. Like, it's literally a first time. It's heartbreaking.
I'm
You
trying
know,
to think, like, the crazy one,
his,
too,
like,
was after the
notoriety.
94 World Cup. Was it Colombia's exit? And the defender
yeah.
was a great defender. Escobar got killed after. It was an own goal in a KO. And that was wild, too. But, yeah, I don't know about something like this, right?
Well, another one comparable, but not in football, would be Johnny Gaudreau in hockey, right?
Yeah.
That happened a couple years ago now.
I don't. Last summer, yeah. Was it last summer? Last summer, Gaudreau.
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
So-
Out on a bike ride, got
Yeah.
mowed down by a car, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it actually makes. I was talking to somebody about this. It actually makes you think. Like it doesn't happen as often as you think it would. Like the amount of athletes in the world. I don't know. It's very rare, right?
Yeah, this was crazy. This was crazy. But thoughts and prayers go out to the family.
See some players tragically like pass away, but never someone of that. Like Jota is a big kind of name for Liverpool.
Yeah.
He's famous around them. He's club favorite. He plays for Portugal. Like it's a player that like Juventus could have signed right and like used. Like it's weird in that regard where it's just a really like high caliber player that's the one who like unfortunately lost his life this weekend. Like it's just that's what makes it stand out for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, everybody, goes to show you how precious life is. Like I said, take your loved ones and let them know. Let them know that exactly that. You love them. And AJC Army, we love you. Great stuff today. All right. And let's see what Juve can cook up All right. One piece of business done. Let's see what else is going to come. Enjoy your weekends. All right. And Lou, recover well. Okay. Your weekend kicked off right. July 4th on a Friday. Kicked off well. But enjoy yourselves, everybody. Till next time, as always, no matter what, fino alla fine, Forza Juventus. Jonathan David is bianco nero. Let's go.